All right, Americans, now you've gone and done it. You've gone and pushed us to the August 1st deadline, and we've had to go to the big guns. You can't survive a trade war with Canada when we go to this guy. We've gone to Captain Socks himself, Justy Trudeau. And boy, oh boy, are you in for it now, because he's already got his talon claws into one of your top pop stars of all time. That's right, we have Katy Perry. She's in the country. She's safe. She's with Justy. And don't worry, I don't think anything's going to happen. It's literally Justin Trudeau. But we got her. And now what are you going to do? That's it. You're going to have to come back to the table, cut the tariffs, free trade. Let's go. This was our strategy, apparently. But don't worry as well, because we also have a prime minister running around with B. Arthur's poltergeist. So, this is Canada. No? Okay. Well, all right. Anyway, here's what we're going to do. It's all a distraction. All of it's a distraction. And we're going to talk about it today. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
I'm really glad that we're going to try and leave that first topic to just the stinger and the opener here, because I don't want to talk about Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry, and I'm sure you don't either. So here's the thing, though. Do you ever get the feeling, by the way, welcome back to Bakes on Things. Do you ever get the feeling that every time the Liberal government is about to be held accountable for something, then boom, a celebrity appears, a flag is waved, or some odd policy shift pops out of nowhere? Well, you're not alone, because what we are watching, my friends, is not coincidence, it's strategy. And I am convinced the Liberal government has a top secret distraction playbook locked away in a filing cabinet somewhere deep inside Parliament Hill. Let's talk about what's really looking like it's going on here. As of right now, we are just days away from the United States imposing massive tariffs on Canadian goods if a trade deal isn't reached. This is probably a crisis moment, but a moment that will affect the cost of everything you buy, sell, ship, or manufacture. It will crush farmers, gut retailers, and raise prices for consumers already struggling. So Mark Carney doesn't look very good right now. And what does the Carney government do to get Canadians to look the other way? Well, they roll out a plethora of distractions. Let's start with the most bizarre and frankly the most orchestrated stunt of them all, and that is this Justin Trudeau strolling through Montreal with pop star Katy Perry thing. Ask yourself this: how did he even get her phone number? How did he manage to time it perfectly during her Canadian tour? And why was it so easy for the media to capture perfect, staged looking shots of them sharing laughs in broad daylight and at restaurants and in parks? That is not just a coincidence, folks. That is a calculated media event designed to generate headlines and distract from the trade negotiations. And guess what? It worked, because instead of the top story being about Mark Carney missing trade deadlines like the July 21st one that he agreed to at the G7 summit, Canadians were instead treated to tabloid fluff of Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry having a magical summer meet cute. Kind of pathetic, really. But there's more, if you don't believe me, so let's keep going. At the very same time, as trade talks are falling apart now as we head toward August 1st, Carney holds a press conference where he makes an abrupt and out of nowhere announcement that Canada will now officially recognize Palestine as a state at the next UN General Assembly in September. It happened just last night. A huge foreign policy decision that somehow got decided just last night, and also with no debate, no legislative process, no consultation with Canadians, no coordination with key allies like the US, and just a massive global headline to distract from a crumbling trade negotiation with the US, which, by the way, that press conference, that was the topic scheduled for it. Then yesterday, a whopping 5 Liberal cabinet ministers and senior staff members flew all the way to PEI to hold a major press conference about, get this, bridge tolls. That's right, a bridge toll announcement. It was broadcast like a national security breakthrough. CTV had it as their top headline. Why? Because they needed something, anything, to generate news coverage that wasn't about the disastrous trade talks with the United States. But we're going to have to rewind even further, because there's examples of this all over the place. Remember Bill C-5, that rushed piece of legislation shoved through Parliament at the 11th hour before a 12-week vacation? The bill was marketed as unlocking provincial trade barriers, but really it was a photo op to distract from the fact that Parliament was about to skip town for 3 months. 3 months. What happens to you and your job if that happens? Especially during an economic crisis. And how could we forget King Charles? He was shipped in to deliver a ceremonial throne speech, the first one in decades by a monarch in person, at a time when the government had, well, no budget, no fiscal update, and no real agenda. It was pure theater, again, and a distraction as well. All pomp, no policy. This is the same pattern over and over again with the Liberal government. Remember when Donald Trump was reelected and Liberals launched an all out fear campaign on him? They made Trump out to be the boogeyman and still do to this day. And that created concern for Canadian sovereignty. But because they needed a villain to distract from their own record of failure and record low polling, they created the distraction. So, what is this really? Well, this is the Liberal Party using taxpayer dollars, federal communications, media manipulation, and diplomatic theater to keep Canadians from seeing what is really going on. And it's not conspiracy theory, and it's not even new. Let's go into our time machine. In the 1990s, Jean Chrétien's government was under heavy fire for the sponsorship scandal. Do we remember this? Millions of dollars funneled to liberal-friendly ad agencies for work that was never actually done. What happened at the height of the criticism of all of that? Well, the government suddenly announced a sweeping $500 million aid package for Africa and held high-profile diplomatic events. The media turned their cameras away from the corruption and toward benevolence. Under Paul Martin, when the income trust tax flip-flop cost Canadian investors billions, his government launched a brand new climate policy all of a sudden. New climate change funding and energy announcements to spin up coverage in a more favorable direction from the scandal. Even under our own favorite, Justy, in his earlier years, the same tactics applied. Remember the We Charity scandal? When it broke, suddenly Canadians were treated to a flurry of announcements about student grants, childcare expansions, and reconciliation milestones we were suddenly hitting. Wow. All noble in concept, but suspiciously timed. Now, let me give you something even more valuable than a rant, because that's kind of what this has been so far, I think. But let's talk about how you can actually spot these distraction plays and predict when your Liberal government is about to distract you with a new headline. First, there's the big shift window. Watch for moments when the Liberals are cornered. A report drops, a deadline approaches, or a scandal is breaking. That's when they suddenly pivot the media narrative. If something truly bad for the government is starting to brew, brace yourself for a photo op, a sudden international statement, or a highly produced announcement with multiple ministers attending at the same time. Sound familiar? Number two to watch for here is the celebrity buffer. The Liberals love using celebrity proximity to humanize themselves and soften hard political news, whether that's kings, princes, whomever. Past governments did this too. Remember when Justin Trudeau suddenly popped up at Pride Parade with the tragically hip lead singer in 2016 right after a controversial arms deal was exposed? I'm not kidding about this stuff. Or when he was backstage with Bono, just as the ethics commissioner opened a new investigation on him. Again, celebrity. Also watch for the international whirlwind tour. Foreign policy is a classic sleight of hand move for the Liberals. Announcing new UN commitments, refugee pledges, or foreign aid is a way to create drama and moral high ground while avoiding the domestic failures here at home. Jean Chrétien used this repeatedly during the sponsorship scandal investigations. His government announced a major new development program for Africa and a public inquiry into anti-Semitism in Canada. Not because they weren't worthy topics, of course they were, but because the timing conveniently overwhelmed the negative headlines that Chrétien was facing. Then look for the flood zone. This one's unique, I think. This is the flood zone technique, I should say. Liberals will release 4 or 5 unrelated announcements across different departments at the same time, diluting the media's focus. For example, like the recent PEI tolls combined with the Palestinian announcement yesterday night and the internal trade photo op, all hitting the same 48-hour news cycle. Then Predict the pattern, because here's the kicker. These distractions always happen within 72 hours of a major deadline, an economic forecast for perhaps, or even a political scandal. That's your red alert window. Watch for the days just before budgets, trade deadlines, audit releases, or poll drops. That's when you'll see the liberal playbook start to open, the distraction playbook. So, next time you see a feel good headline with a celebrity, a surprise foreign policy change, or five ministers on a stage talking about something insignificant like the 4% of the population that use that PEI bridge, ask yourself, what are they trying to make me not see? Because here's the truth: Canada deserves better. We deserve leaders who negotiate trade deals with strength and substance and not smoke and mirrors. We deserve budgets, not throne speeches. We deserve honest conversations, not fear based distraction campaigns. We are on the verge of a massive economic blow here. Tariffs could hit us hard and soon. Our economy is at risk, and while other countries are getting deals done with the United States, our Prime Minister is stalling, posing, and posturing. Enough. Canadians are smart. We know when we're being played. So let this video be a wake-up call for you and your friends and your family. Watch the news, but also watch what they don't want you to see. Watch what falls below the fold, right after the headline. Subscribe to this channel, share this video. This has been Bakes on Things. I'm Chris Baker. Stay vigilant, because they are counting on your distraction. And don't forget to comment down below. I'm loving the discussions we're having on our videos lately. Let's get into that discussion today. Do you see the distractions? Can you think of other examples in history where your liberal governments have distracted from the headlines? I bet you'll find them. That's why I left a few crumbs to be out there so you could see if you can bring them up in the comments. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things. We'll catch you tomorrow. California girls.